I'm Amrita. I'm 17 years old from Toronto, Canada. I'm currently a senior in high school. So I know it's a little bit young, but I've built a lot of projects in specifically within the spaces of nuclear fusion, sustainability, and programming. So for around 3 years, I would say I was really focused on nuclear fusion energy, which is like an alternative energy source. I can go a little bit into more how I got into that later on, but specifically within nuclear fusion, I recorded a lot of videos. I've written a lot of articles and research papers within that space. And then I kind of pivoted towards looking at other projects. I think my main motivations when I build projects is impacting people. I'm really keen on trying to find gaps within a system and trying to help people within it. So I've built a lot in sustainability as well. As of right now, I'm really set on, computer science, programming, artificial intelligence. It's as a senior, that's kind of what I want to study after high school. So, for like post secondary, for example. And yeah, I'm an alumni from the Knowledge Society, TKS. I'm a member of the Masason Foundation. And yeah, those are like two of the biggest communities I would say that I'm a part of right now. So.
Well, very nice. And how did you
Um,
get involved actually with like science, technology, like being so young? How did you even find out like about those possibilities?
Yeah, so I feel like at a young age, I like was just naturally inclined towards building, exploring, always staying curious. I remember like in school being into like robotics, video editing, just things like that. And then I got introduced to the Knowledge Society, so TKS, which is basically this human accelerator program for teenagers, which gives them like mental models, frameworks to solve some of the world's hardest problems. So it's a very great program. And I got introduced to it. I would say I was around 14 years old when I joined. So like grade nine, freshman in high school. And I think through TKS, it just introduced me to like a whole other side of building that I didn't realize was really possible. So, skills, mental models, frameworks. I was really introduced to how to put myself out there, if that makes sense. So before TCAS, I never would have thought it would have been possible to like upload my own articles online about like nuclear fusion energy, plasma physics at like such a young age. But I think it really gave me the confidence to just put myself out there. So I would definitely say I was always naturally inclined towards technology, but I do think that TKS was that like driver in getting me to where I am now.
Yeah, there are
and
like
so,
many talented people also here in Silicon Valley from TKS.
Yeah.
So like amazing community. I think also Alex Matthew, that is like one of the youngest participants,
Yeah.
was also from TKS, from Canada as well.
no, it's
Amazing.
so fascinating. Also because yeah, usually we don't talk about nuclear fusion. We always talk about AI. And so I wanted to also to ask, like, why nuclear fusion, and what impact had TKS in your development with the subject, and what brought you from nuclear fusion to now AI and what you're doing right now, also with
Yeah.
Mason Foundation.
Yeah. So I think with so nuclear fusion, yeah, it's a very, niche field. I think it's been getting a lot of publicity recently, but I think so it's kind of a weird story how I got into it. Again, I was always just curious as a child, and I remember just being interested in the sun, which sounds kind of weird, but I remember doing like a Google search, kind of like how is the sun powered? Like I was just genuinely curious about it. And the sun's powered through a process called nuclear fusion. And then I just remember doing all of this, like kind of like finding myself in a rabbit hole of just like going into like what is this, how does it work kind of thing. And then within TKS they have these like personal projects that we kind of work towards as students, and you can basically focus on anything you want to, any emerging technology. So a lot of students work on like brain computer interfaces or gene editing. And I specifically wanted to work on nuclear fusion just because I remember being so fascinated about it even before TKS. And so again, I just, started writing content, putting myself out there. And then I think I pivoted towards programming through it was a very specific project I worked on. It involved nuclear fusion and machine learning. I actually worked on it in collaboration with like a PhD student from in plasma physics after who I reached out to in order to work on that project. And he basically introduced me to like the field of coding, machine learning. And I think that really got me interested. I was like, this is a whole new level of problem solving when it comes to programming and coding that I was really interested in. And so that's kind of how I moved from nuclear fusion to like artificial intelligence and programming. So I think that was like a really big, that project really influenced my passion for programming.
And so right now, the next steps, then for your masters or for your studies, like you already know where you're into, or if you want maybe to focus before to other projects, or if you want to study a little bit more about computer science and programming.
Yeah, I mean I'm a senior in high school right now, so I can't lie, university stuff has been a little bit stressful, but
Mhm.
I do want to study computer science. I think it's just been a really fascinating field for me recently. And I do think that like we see the rise of AI, for example, it's globalization, it's huge. And so I feel like I've always just wanted to be a part of that, which is kind of why I want to study that as well. So that's kind of like what I have in terms of the future. And then just, I guess, like continue building projects. I'm kind of that person, like, if I find something interesting that I'm curious about, I'll go into it, try explore it for a bit, see what happens, see if it works out. So, like, for example, I remember sometime like last year, I was kind of interested in like space technology. I think it was because of like SpaceX and Elon Musk. And I'm like, I want to explore this field for a bit. So I just remember like reading papers, watching all these videos on it, just to really explore and, find what I was passionate about. I didn't end up, building anything within space tech, but I think that's just kind of like a testament to the fact that I'm always trying to build projects that have an impact and they're really meaningful. So I guess that's kind of what I want to strive for the future as well.
I really like the fact that you said
And
that in all your projects you want to do something meaningful that impact people, but also on the other side we know that there are lots of problems like with ethics, with AI. So what do you think about this? Like how also do you manage while you're doing your projects?
Yeah, that's a I know it's a really hard thing to consider. I think whenever I'm building projects or just like trying to any I feel like this is applicable to all aspects of life, but just trying to find like the why behind it, like why am I doing it in the first place? And for me it always comes back to kind of like wanting to make an impact on people and doing things for the better. Um like obviously when you're building, especially like as you said, AI, for example, there's huge implications when it comes to like ethics and everything like that. Um, but I think again, it's just kind of like for me personally, I know why I'm working on it, which is trying to impact people in a positive way, in a meaningful way. And I think when you remind yourself of that, then you kind of you understand why you're working on it in the first place, and it becomes less about like ethics and everything and more about like you're just doing it trying to help people, kind of something like that. Yeah.
Amrita, thank you so much. This is really a good point. And also because before you talked about you like exploring, therefore this year you have done the Silicon Valley Fellowship, so you have explored another different environment of San Francisco. So I wanted to ask which is the main difference between San Francisco environment and the one in Toronto in Canada, which you are used to, and if you're willing to explore another environment, or do you think that Toronto or SF or another place that you have been could be the right one to pursue your studies or to continue building projects?
Yeah, I really believe that like the ecosystem, the environment you're in does play an impact, especially depending on what field you want to go into. and try and build in. I specifically wanted to do the fellowship because I was interested in, San Francisco building culture, obviously like the hacker culture, things like that. And I did see a big difference. I think when it comes to Toronto versus San Francisco, like I think when it comes to like creativity, just like startup culture, I do think that there is a big difference. I think Toronto, there is a startup culture, there is like some ecosystem, but obviously San Francisco is like notorious for it, it's known for it. So I think in the future, like I think I would be really inclined towards like staying in San Francisco for a bit, just depending on how things play out. Obviously, for the field I want to go into, like computer science is huge, AI is huge in San Francisco. It's a huge hub for technology, so that is an area where I was really happy with it because I was happy that I got to experience that during the fellowship as well. In terms of other places, I think that like there's so many cities in the world that are like starting to kind of like adopt that culture. I've heard that like Switzerland is a really big hub as well, or like Singapore, for example, for technology. But I think 100% just like seeing where the future takes me. But I do see myself in San Francisco just because of that like startup culture again and how it is different than Toronto, I would say. Yeah.
There are like many people I remember from the University of Waterloo. They usually like do internships here, and then they end up getting like maybe like full-time offers, like building their own companies. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like the engineering talent that is coming from Canada here.
Yeah, I think Waterloo is I've been to Waterloo. It's an incredible school. I do think that it's, if not the best school in like Canada, known for its hacker culture, like building. And yeah, again, like how you said, it's crazy how many students go like to SF, for example, and do like crazy things. I just think that's like the natural environment of Waterloo, which is really great because again, like I'm in Toronto, so wanting to go there for university. But yeah, no, 100%.
And now, like, do you see, like, even here in Silicon Valley, like this summer you visited, like maybe Apple, like with the former CFO, like maybe we visited those universities like Stanford and those like startups. Like, how do you envision yourself, like, in the medium long term, like more in a research environment, like maybe in a big tech company or like building your own company, or like what's your inspiration at the moment?
Yeah, I think currently I think for the past couple months, years, I've have been really inclined towards the possibility of starting my own company or startup, or working very closely to an emerging one. I
Hmm.
think, seeing how it all plays out definitely like plays a role, but I think I've just been exposed a lot to like startup culture, and it's something that there's really good things and there's really bad things associated with it, but I do think that it's something I have been interested in for a while. And um, I guess that's like my one of my biggest inspirations as of now. Or again, how I said, working very closely. I'm not opposed to research either. I just think that given like my background in building projects and just wanting to make like a tangible impact, I think that doing so like through a startup or like very closely with one would be the best way to do that.
Okay,
It
amazing. So
makes
now
sense.
now I'm a little bit curious about maybe some main projects that you work in, like how they were so impactful. If you want to talk a little bit about them, because I'm very curious.
Yeah, for sure. So I can give one example of one related to nuclear fusion. It was the same project I was referencing earlier. It was basically this intersection of nuclear fusion energy and like programming and machine learning. So just like a very brief context, nuclear fusion hasn't been achieved yet on Earth because of it requires very high temperatures and like plasma density. It's very, very complicated, but we basically haven't harnessed it yet on Earth efficiently. And so the project I was looking at was working towards trying to see like predicting fusion outputs based on inputs, basically. And so that project was, I think, really big because, again, it introduced me into that intersection with computer science. But I was also able to present it at the World Summit AI Americas conference. So I got to travel from Toronto to Montreal. And I was one of three presenters who, basically, I presented my project to the audience, just like explaining what I did, how I got to it, what the next steps are. So I think that was a really big project for me. I think another one was, that I'm really proud of, was one related to my own community. So I'm from my family's from a state in India called Punjab, and I was looking at a project that was specific to that region of India, and it was about groundwater depletion because that the state of Punjab in India, it's very much known for like its farming and agriculture. So I worked on a project that kind of tackled groundwater depletion because obviously you need water to grow crops and everything. But if it's being depleted, then what happens next? So I think that was another really big project for me because it not only brought me closer to my community, but I think just put into perspective the fact that, like, if no one else is working on a project, or speaking out on an issue, then I can be the one to do it in a way. So I think those were like, some examples of really big projects that I'm proud of.
Amazing. And like, do you usually work on these projects alone, or you also talk maybe with PhD students or with more experts? So, like, how do
Yeah.
you usually begin the projects?
Yeah, I a lot of projects I have built independently, but again, like I built one in collaboration with a PhD student, for example. But there's one project where, which was another really big project for me within sustainability. I worked on with a group of three other students who I met all through TKS, and it was called Biotechs. It was basically related to sustainability and textile waste. And I'm saying that was a really big project because it's through like my team and I, we basically applied to like a lot of these contests and conferences using that project because we believed so much in it, and we got a lot of expert validation. And that project, it won like a top 10 global finalist in like a sustainability competition, and then it also won another award at like a different conference. So I think like working on projects with people and independently, like I personally love doing both. I think like I can do both. I love working with others, but there are some projects where I'm like, hey, I can work on this independently, and just really seeing like how that goes from there. But yeah, I always love working with others as well. So
And do you have like some
That's so
maybe
nice.
personal mentors or like I don't know model like models like people that actually inspire you? Like you mentioned Elon Musk before for like the space projects. I know that for like nuclear fusion there is also like this other guy from Canada, JC, that I've been like to his place like last month that kind of like organize a sauna like pool party, and it's crazy because he started this company super young and he raised like yeah, quite a lot of money. Now he has like his own team, kind of like building the factory for like transition to the fusion energy. So I don't know. Do you have like some personal mentors or people that are an inspiration for you?
yeah, I think especially like from a couple years ago, I was really inspired by like Paul Graham. I think like his essays online were just like a really good starting point for me as a young person. Just trying to navigate through like what do I like, what are my interests, like where do my interests lie? Because he talks a lot about finding what you truly like, just like building in spaces that you're curious about. So I think like reading Paul Graham's essays, seeing him talk, and of course he's done crazy things like Y Combinator, for example. That's just one thing, but I think he was definitely a big inspiration. Again, like just finding my own passions and all the resources that he has out there. I think personally as well. I mean, within like for example, personal mentors, within TKS, we've done like these mentoring programs, and I got paired with a mentor who I'm also very close with now, and I have been close for, I want to say, like a year and a half. He's been really helpful in giving me advice, not only in like building projects and like getting feedback on those, but I think just like life advice as well. Um, so I do think that, like, yeah, of course I have like mentors I look at, like from, internet, like Paul Graham, for example, but also like personal ones who I can talk to about like life problems, and then just getting feedback on other things. So yeah.
Yeah, another one is like the Masa Foundation, right? Like maybe if you want to expand a little bit more about what it does, how it works.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, the Masason Foundation, just for like some context, it's this philanthropic organization founded by Masayoshi-san. So he's the CEO of SoftBank from Japan. It's a very, very large company, and he basically started this foundation in order to give young people with like exceptional like talents and visions, basically, resources that they may not be able to get otherwise, in order to like get their inspirations out there, and to, again, like just build the projects that they want to build. So I found out about this organization, again, I think it was through TKS, and it's a very, very selective program. I have to say that it's a global program, and the way they do it is that there's different like generations. So I think they're currently in their ninth generation, where they just choose like, I want to say 20 to maybe less than 30 like students on average. And basically, through the foundation, you get access to resources, support grants. So they have different types of grants. For example, there's travel grants. There's the possibility of getting like your tuition covered for university post secondary. There's also other things, like if you want to start a startup or a business, you can get a grant from the foundation. Um, I think the travel grants for me have been especially like very important for me, because I think especially like this recent summer I did a lot of traveling, and it's just good knowing that, like, it feels right knowing that you have that support out there. But yeah, the Mastermind Foundation has been huge. I think the community is great as well, and it's all currently based in Japan. So it's a very, very great organization. I would say like the people who work there are very nice. The community is great, and they always try to do these. They always find ways of trying to bring the community together. So they have like a end of year party they do every December in Japan. I haven't been to yet. I really wanted to go last year. It just didn't work out, but they do like summer programs, things like that. So I think their inspiration is like great, and just the resources is just like I'm like very grateful and very thankful for that. But yeah, it's a great foundation, and I'm so happy to be a part of that.
And what is one thing that you say that you really enjoy about this foundation, given that also you are not in Japan? So how was your experience in this sense?
Yeah, I think I that's a good question. I think, like, again, they're always bringing members together, even though they know that like everyone is like global, right? Everyone is situated in a different part of the world. They do like, I think it's bi-weekly, I want to say, newsletters, which I think all the members get emailed. So it's really great to see. You can see like what different members have done, and like what's next in terms of the foundation. They also do like internal, basically, where like meetings where foundation members, like if they want to, like, let's say I want to teach the foundation about my research in nuclear fusion, I could just propose that idea to the people who work there, and they could probably set like a session up. So I think like the fact that they always, like, they try to bring the community together in that sense, I think like that's a really great highlight of the foundation.
And have you discovered anything different in terms of mindsets about Japanese people being in the foundation? Have you encountered a different culture in a sense?
Yeah, I think, well, actually, this summer, in August, I went to Japan. I can maybe talk about this after, but it was related to like an internship, and I was also exposed to Japanese culture as well. But within Masason, I've just learned that it's really about like building. Like I think with Masason, especially, it's such a diverse program that there's like everyone is from like a different part of the world, but I think the one thing that everyone has in common is that everyone's passionate, everyone's ambitious. um, but I think in terms of like Japanese culture, I was exposed to it in the summer. Everyone's super friendly, very hardworking, very ambitious. And yeah, so I think that that was it.
And what
Okay,
did
so
you do for the internship,
Yeah.
that you mentioned there?
Yeah.
I was
So,
gonna ask the same
um,
thing.
yeah, it was related to, so the company was called Helical Fusion. It's based in Tokyo. It's a nuclear fusion based company. I think it's one of four companies in Tokyo building like building a nuclear fusion reactor. And they basically do it with like different type of technology that's conventionally used. So they use like superconductors, stellarators, just like this non-conventional technology. And I basically I was at a conference, and I met the CEO and co-founder. His name is Takaya Taguchi, and I was really interested because I think again, like knowing that someone at that conference. So just for context, I was at a conference, and he was like one of only, I think he was like the only person there who was speaking about nuclear fusion, and obviously I have a background in that. So I was I was really on a mission to try and find him and just introduce myself, and it honestly turned into like a really great relationship. We stayed in touch through like WhatsApp, through like video calls. I sent him like some of my work, some of my articles, and we basically set up like this private internship because I'm off of school during the summer in August. And I was basically in Japan during August. And what I did was, I we worked on some stuff related to like their R&D, so related to like superconductors, for example. They also gave me like private tours of like huge nuclear fusion facilities in Japan, because Japan is like a huge driver in nuclear fusion technology as well. And then I also, at the very end of the internship, got to give a talk on behalf of the company, kind of like my learnings, research, my journey within fusion energy at a conference. So that was like a huge experience for me. I think it really like I was just so happy about it because I've worked in nuclear fusion for so long, and I was like thinking about it like at 13 years old I would have never thought that would have been possible, like doing that, going to Japan at 17. And another like really fun thing was I got to meet the Masason Foundation workers as well. So that was another highlight. So I think, yeah, just that was really great. And I think what I learned from that was like putting myself out there again, being confident. If I didn't have the confidence to go up to the co-founder and CEO of a company, then none of that would have happened in the first place. So I think again, like that lesson of putting yourself out there really, really came through for that. So
Oh my God, really, this was amazing. And so maybe some suggestion that you would give to guys also of your age, that maybe that they fear that they're too young, that there are lots of competition. So some suggestions, some yeah, some tips that you want to share.
yeah, I think like big things I've learned as a young person were, of course it takes time to be confident, put yourself out there. I think the number one thing though is just like staying curious and just looking at what you like. It's not, I wouldn't say it's cliche, but of course, you're told to like follow what you want, follow your passions, but I do think that's true. I think, staying curious, being resourceful, you those are all really great traits I think someone can have, especially as a young person. And then I think with time, the confidence just comes naturally. Like when you're curious about a field and you really build within it, you just kind of gain that confidence of like, oh, I've done so many things. Like maybe the age doesn't have to play a factor in it. Um, but I would say, like, as a young person, just stay curious. Don't be afraid to reach out, like, 100%. I think, like, I was really scared of reaching out to the co-founder and CEO, for example, but it brought so many great things. And like, I always try to think of like, well, the worst thing they can say is like no, right? Like that's kind of it. So just reminding yourself out there and really grounding yourself like that, I think is another really important thing.
Yeah, I think like having AI
Yeah, that
agencies
makes sense.
like really one of the most important things. Like even people that arrive here in Silicon Valley and then maybe they just reach out to like that famous entrepreneur, like that famous investor, and then there are like amazing things that come from it. But yeah, it's something that maybe takes a little bit of confidence, a little bit of time to develop. But yeah, I also think it's like a super important trait.
Yeah.
And what was the major encounter that you had with a person that you met that you didn't expect to meet, then you met, and then changed maybe your perspective or was special in a sense?
Yeah, I think like again, like going back to like I think I remember so I was at a conference and I had been doing like I had just been browsing the speakers of like who's at the conference, who can I connect with, and I did find like there was the co-founder and CEO of the fusion company, and I think I remember being really hesitant at first. About like going up to him and just like introducing myself, but I think like as I mentioned before, it really taught me a lot about like it's okay to feel scared. Of course that's a normal feeling, but I think like you really have to act on it, and like again, like just put yourself out there and act on those fears, because like once again I think if like I'm so happy knowing I did that, because it brought like such a great relationship, and then the experience with the internship and just unlocked so many other opportunities that I wouldn't have even ever imagined. So I think like once you put yourself out there and you just start to think like that, like hey, this could bring so many opportunities, let me just give it a try, just being like open-minded like that, I think that's another really key trait.
Amazing. And like for example, also for this summer, you already arranged some internship or something that you definitely want to do, or we are still searching for like what you want to do later?
I think this summer I'm still searching. I think I would be really interested in some sort of like again startup. I think I've really like learned a lot. I think startups or like working again like very closely in one is definitely something I want to do in the future. So if I could do it, as soon as possible, like this summer, for example. But again, like I would have to start, putting myself out there. But I currently don't have any plans for that, but that is definitely something that I have been considering and I really want to work towards.
Thank you. And given your researches on AI and artificial intelligence, I want to ask, what do you see now the future, which is actually the present of AI, maybe more especially in your field, if you're more comfortable talking about that, some insights that you know because you have knowledge on the field that would like to share with people that maybe don't have the same knowledge on that.
Yeah, I think like AI, I think like the AI boom was like definitely huge, especially in recent years. Like one thing I have learned is that, we can't be passive about it. I think, working with AI, which sounds really weird when you say like working with artificial intelligence, but working with it and not against it is definitely something I've heard and I do agree with. I think when people try and um I think it's like any other like phenomenon like in history, like for example, the rise of like the internet, for example, there's so many people against it, trying to fight against it, but it ended up flourishing into something huge, like bringing people together, solving huge problems. And I do think AI has that same potential you know, if we use it right. I do think there are, of course, as we were mentioning before, like ethical issues. I'm personally not as I haven't looked really like I'm not very experienced in terms of like the ethics of AI, things like that, but do I do have to say that like again like working with it and not against it is something crucial, and just like knowing that we're using it for the right reasons. Like I think there's been like for example the rise of ChatGPT. It's brought huge things, but it's brought like negative things as well. Like great things as in like it helps people with everyday tasks. You can literally prompt it to like teach you like about a like for example plasma physics in like 10 minutes. Like you can learn it like this, but it's also brought negative things. Like there's the water usage of chat gpt for example. So I think just putting it into perspective like that is really important.
Thank you so much. I think that's something to that we should think about when we talk about AI. Do you have any insight or any last remarks that you want to share with the audience? Maybe people that want to know more about that or experience building projects in AI. What would you recommend given your network that you have created?
Yeah, I think I guess like what I've been bringing up the whole time is looking at what you intrinsically like and just working towards that and building towards that. I think staying curious is a huge trait. I think once you like filter out the noise in a way where maybe not looking at what other people are doing, like doing something just because someone else is doing it, right? I think staying true to yourself, staying curious, and just building because that's something that you want to do. And it might not even be about building. It might be like that might not be something that you're into. Maybe there's a different outlet. And I think just that theme, that overarching theme of staying true to yourself is really important to me. And it's a huge lesson I've learned over the years. And I think that's what's unlocked so many opportunities, from speaking at conferences to interning at like startups at large corporations, for example. I think that's what's brought me to those places. So I think that's like the number one piece of advice that I could give for any young person or just anyone out there.
Thank you. So
Amazing, amazing.
experience is key.
Yeah.
Well, so thank you very much for being with us
Yeah, and we
today.
are curious to know you're curious to know where you'll be next year. Maybe in another episode we'll
Thank
do.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye.